And that is the end of Sega Sonic. Now, for game 2 in the ISO trilogy, we are going to start with our Sonic Labyrinth here. Sonic Labyrinth is also played on a Game Gear. It's also played on an emulator. But as you can see, I have it in the background of the game ready to go. So when Sega Sonic ends, it's perfectly ready to go. I just have the game muted, so we don't have to worry about that, and all the audio stays the same once it's checked. So now we are in Sonic Labyrinth. So Sonic Labyrinth is a not a fan favorite of many games. It's got a notorious, it's got a rep for being very hard, and the game itself isn't incredibly difficult once you get used to the physics. However, the physics and the mechanics of this game are very, very unique. So the basically what we did there is we collect 3 keys in each level. Once we have 3 keys in each level, we are to find the goal. Sometimes an enemy has a key, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes they're just kind of spread out there, but the keys are in the same spot each and every time. So we do have a set pattern that we're trying to accomplish with our speed and with our like our directions that we're going. Sometimes we damage boost, kind of like we did there. There is always an enemy there. I did not want to hit that like that bumper there because we got a key up here. I do press the roll button twice to cancel the roll, so we slide and get where we want. And then you hold the roll button to kind of go a little bit faster there. Rolling is faster, so it's still faster to roll and then cancel the roll and then into run. However, you will see me a bunch of times where I will run to a specific spot that I want to roll, and then I kind of go from there. But that is 1-2. The game has 4 stages, so it's Labyrinth of the Sky, Labyrinth of the Castle, all that kind of stuff there. There are 4 stages in each kind of 4 acts or 4 zones, if you will. 3 where we got to find keys, and the 4th will be a boss fight. So there's a key down there. There's going to be a key up in an enemy up here. So we got to break this. Now, when keys break out of enemies, they actually go to a specific spot each time. So we kind of know where the key is going to go. So we want to set this up to where the key is at. We want to get up these hills. Hills are very, very finicky in this game, where we kind of get cancel momentum, and I was able to fail that a few times. But we got the 3rd key, and we're out the door, and we are ready to go. So we now have cleared zone 3. So now we are approaching zone 4. So act 4 of this level is basically a giant slope that leads into a boss fight. So all we're going to do is we're going to grab a couple of rings right at the beginning, and then we're going to hold all the way up, and we're going to let the roll go down the hill. So if we ever had any donations or announcements to be made, I can ask for that to be made during this time. Each time that we have, it's about 20 seconds or so. So 1 or 2 donations, as well if there's an announcement that needed to be made for this. Now we go down this tube, and we go down this tube into the boss room. So for this boss fight, there's 2 different strats you can do. You can kind of do it vertically, or you can almost do it diagonally. I'm one of the only ones that I know that does this diagonally, and to me, this is just a little bit safer. It is a little bit faster if you go vertically, but you just kind of charge it up and you let Sonic go, and he just kind of bounces back and forth. So you got these little, like, they're almost like little bomb enemies that Sonic can go off of, and you just keep rolling through the enemy. And the reason that I do it diagonally is because the enemy second cycle, if you will, rotates into the path of the diagonal that I go. If you go vertically and you miss it, then you have to set up properly and then keep going. I don't get 1 cycles often enough to where I think that's a valid strat. So I go diagonally, and it works just as fine. So now we move into 2-1 or Labyrinth of the Sea. So then now this introduces the cannons, which is, I believe, one of the only times we actually see this. So now we're going to start getting to some stages that casually would be significantly harder. Unfortunately, I take a hit there. When you take a hit, the keys will fall out in certain enemies, certain spots. The keys will go like in specific spots. So if I get hit by that enemy each time, a key will actually go there where it's supposed to. But we want to use these cannons, and it puts us correctly exactly where we go. But again, casually, this is when these levels start become a nightmare, because without using those cannons in those specific order, you will not be able to get those keys, and you'll end up just kind of wandering around for a while. So that is the end of 2-1. Now we're going to 2-2, and now we're going to see the first instance of some doors. So these doors will take us to different spots of the level. So now we do have an enemy here. We actually backtrack through that because the key always goes to that bottom right. We could leave that key there if we're fast enough in this next part. However, where we get like a bounce backwards, instead of killing them straight away, we just decide to grab the key and then go. These doors do go to different rooms, and sometimes when you go in and out of a door, they'll actually change. So now we want to go into the second door, this middle door here, which takes us to this last and third key, which also happens to be in the final room. And we kind of go up in here, and boom, we're done with 2-2. If you've blinked, you have missed the run so far. We're a little less than now halfway through already. And now we're going to make our way to 2-3. So each level or each zone has its own theme. Again, this is like Labyrinth of the Sea, even though there are no water stages. And the first level was the only level that seemed to kind of have a water feel. This level is blue. Those might be like little octopus guys if you want to consider them that, or squids. So it kind of has maybe a little bit of a water feel, but not as much as the first stage. And then after that, the second stage had like what looked like to be grass. We don't want to go in that bonus stage. We definitely don't want to go in there. We've gotten our 2 keys already. We're going to go down here. We're going to activate this little like cannon, if you will. Once we get in there, it blows us up in the air. We grab a key as we go up in the air. The timer has stopped. We will then fall down to the ground and then finish the stage because the exit is up to our left. Now we got to be careful there, because if we go too much to the middle, we'll hit that little octopus enemy and it'll shoot us backwards into those spikes. And the keys will actually go into 3 different spots of the level. If you do not grab your keys fast enough, they'll actually go back to their initial spots. So then you'd have to know which key was which, saying, oh, I know that first key's here, second key's here, because the order I get them isn't necessarily the order that the keys appear on the screen there. So now we're in 2-4. So again, this would be another spot if there was an announcement to be made, or if someone had a donation that I would ask for another 20 seconds as we roll down the hill going into the second boss fight. Now we move into the second fight, and this is arguably the worst boss fight in the whole game. This is my least favorite in the whole game. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to spin dash out of the way really quickly. These are like shell crabs, something. So basically the big version of it spawns up top. You can only hit it when it opens its shell. It is completely RNG of when it's going to stop, when it's going to open, all that stuff there. The big goal is to get 2 hits from them. So there's not a crazy strat for this. It's just to try to get lucky. That was a very, very clean boss fight. But sometimes the enemy won't stop going back and forth. Sometimes it stops when you don't want it to stop. And it just kind of does not work out game there. It just doesn't work sometimes. All right, we are now into 3-1. World 3 is probably my favorite stages of the game. They can be some of the harder stages as well, just from where enemy placements are at. But this one has a key where the enemy is actually moving, and if you are not on the right spot, then it gets very, very hard for you to hit that enemy. However, that enemy will always have the same pattern. So if you know where it's coming, as you saw that I kind of lined that up and was able to shoot myself right through its face. And get that enemy. That enemy also had 3 parts to it, so if I did not hit its head and just hit its body, then it won't also, I won't get the key yet there. The third and final key is on this platform, so it's towards the start. However, we don't get it first because we get shot down that way, so we wait. There have been times just like that right there where that enemy will actually hit me because it respawns once you go like basically off screen. And the exit is all the way here towards the bottom. I almost ran into that lightning bolt there, which would have once again scattered my keys. And that would not have been a fun time to pick those up. So that is 3-1, and now we're going into 3-2. Again, these World 3 levels have some very, very good levels. I like the design of these, and I've got some cool little trick shots that we seem to do here. This one has a bunch of platforms there. So as you see, if you take a death, our one and only death of this run, I fell through the ground. So if you miss a platform, you fall onto like a lava spike, and Sonic just gets destroyed there. It's really hard to do it when the level first starts. It's very, very precise timing to get to that platform there. But if you were to die, you basically just hold down and you get on that platform right away versus having to kind of adjust yourself a little bit. But we are going around all this. Now, this is the first level besides maybe 2-1 that has even more specific routing. These platforms go in specific directions, and if you don't go the specific route, you can stay here for a while. So this level would be very, very challenging when it comes down to it. We grab our one and only power-up. The power-up is random sometimes. So sometimes we get speed shoot, sometimes we get like a timer, which is what we got there. It's faster for me to do that than try to go like down and around. You got to go down, roll, down, across. And that way when we go back, we can just hold right back. We avoided this key right here because we wanted to be able to bounce the second key off the wall. So now that we get that third key, it lines us up perfectly, and we are done with 3-2. 3-3 is probably my favorite level of the entire run, and it's also the level that can kill a vast majority of my runs as well, just because of the ending does not always like to work for me. But the first two keys here, very, very awesome. I love that. We just hold straight down. We go off of this and get onto this platform. Then we roll right down here to this other platform, which the key is just to our left. So we bounce off the wall back to this platform. And then within 2 seconds, we've gotten 2 keys. Now, if I did not know the speed run of this level would have taken me a ton casually. Now, when I learned the run of this game and played this casually, I didn't even try to basically beat the game on my own. I just kind of looked at a speed run and just followed kind of the route. There's not really any, tricks and stuff like that when it comes to that. Now, we are going to get to a specific spot so we can kill all 4 parts of the enemy there. A lot of times that enemy has hit me, and I have lost runs specifically to this stage. And it's hit me as I've gotten on the platform because it gets really, really close if you let it go around as you're waiting for the platform. So we figured out that if you just roll up a little bit, that enemy comes right in your grill and you can roll right through it. So now we are done with 3-3 and we move on to the third fight. This is probably my favorite fight of them because it can go really fast, but it can also go really slow. But this is finally more dependent on you as a runner versus the second level where it's, more RNG, and that kind of stuff there. But once again, we'd have any time for donations or announcements that need to be made. That's the sound effect for the little teleporter part there. So now we're going to go up to the top right hand corner and we're going to wait. We got a bunch of spikes here that are being shot out. And the enemy basically looks like these little enemies here. So what we're going to do is we're going to hold down and we're going to bounce off the wall a couple times. When it gets farther away, we're going to bounce and then hit it again to cancel our roll. So that way we can get faster bounces. And when it gets closer to it, then we just bounce back off the wall. And that was a perfect fight. That was very, very quick, very, very well done. If you do take damage, there's rings up to the top right of that you can grab a ring just in case. But it can be very sketchy sometimes for that as well. Now we are going into the last 4 stages of the game. And if you played this casually or try to play this casually, this is where the game ramps up its difficulty. There's a bunch more puzzle-esque, if you would, of where the keys are at. 4-1's not as bad, but 4-2 and 4-3 could be miserable if you don't know where you're going. Once again, once the keys are all the same, they do not change. So where I know where they're all at, I know which doors to take and which route to take. So it's pretty easy. And 4-1 is not any different. 4-1 is kind of the relaxation before the storm of 4-2 and 4-3. All right. 4-2, along like I think it was 2-2. When you go to some doors, when you come out of a door, it doesn't always necessarily mean you're coming out of the same door. So the first door we're going to go up does work as a way as it should. When I go in, I'm just going to go in this door here. I'm going to hold, and I'm going to go all the way down to the end of it and go through here. Now I'm only going to hold charge a little bit because there is no, red and white boundary. You can actually just fall off that and then you die and have to restart the level over. I hold a max spin and kind of slide through the key as well as through the enemy. We do the same thing here. We just hold down to get to the end. Now, we do not want to get hit by an enemy here because these keys can fly in a lot of weird places, and you'd have to wait for them to despawn to then pick them back up. We get on the inside part of this blue little conveyor belt. We're going to hit this key, and then we're going to leave this room here, and then we actually have to leave the room once we enter it right away. And then we have to hit a switch right away. And then now this takes us back into the final area of this stage. So once this door comes through, the door does not actually mean the right way. And if we did not hit that key or that button, we would not be in the right spot. But again, we know where it's all at. And boom, that is 4-2. And we actually get a little tiny cutscene. It's a clock for whatever it's worth and little doves coming out of the clock. So it added a small little feature for whatever reason. Again, it's just a castle level. I don't really know why it does that, but hey, why not, right? So now we are entering 4-3, Labyrinth of the Castle. So the last actual level we have to get any kind of keys. Again, this is arguably the hardest stage in the entire game if you do not know where you're going. There are tons and tons of enemies. There are tons and tons of doors, and all the doors lead you to the wrong parts of the level. So we're going to go here. We don't even see the sea monster here. We've already gotten one key. We're going to go down here. We're going to go all the way down to the end and go back up. Now we want to go up here and enter the door to our right hand side. Once we enter this door, we want to hold up in the spin dash because that ground, water, whatever you kind of want to call it, is pushing you off. So it pushes you off. We go to a spot of the level that we don't want to go to. So then we want to go through here, and it is the reason we want to exit the way that we came in is because it actually takes us to where the third and final key is at. So we have our third and final key right there. Now we exit that room, and the exit is all the way at the bottom. We got to be careful of these spikes. We don't want to hit those spikes and make that go on the other spot. Now we made a mistake, and we actually went, and we have a perfect example there of the doors don't return. At that point, I actually have no idea where I'm going. I had to kind of figure out by just random doors, like, okay, I know where I'm at now. But I bonked off the gold side, and it pushed me through the other door. But again, once I went back through that door, it wasn't the same door that came in. So we lost some time on that stage for the run that we were doing. But if we don't do that, we'd have a very, very good 4-3. And now we are in the final stage of the game, 4-4. We are now going to fight the evil, the one, the only, the Dr. Eggman. But just like before, we would ask for any donations or announcements that need to be made, and we will let this go here. So now we are entering the final boss. This boss has 2 phases. It's kind of a 2-stage type fight. So we're really almost 3 if you want to call this as a stage. So we stand up here to the top. We cannot be hit. None of these little Eggman bombs things come up here this high. They always land the exact same spot. After that final one lands to the right, a giant Eggman comes out and drops a bomb on our head. Basically what happens is we just rinse and repeat, and we do this a bunch of times. So there's hit number 2. We wait for the bomb, small dash, re-roll, and there's hit number 3. We bounce back. So we want to make sure Eggman moves as little as possible, so that way it's as fast as possible to beat this fight. So that was hit number 4, or number 3. I believe that was hit number 4 right there. We keep rolling, and then once we get enough hits on Eggman, I believe it's 6 hits, and that was hit number 5 right there. This should be hit number 6. Eggman turns into just a face. And kind of rinse and repeat. However, this time he shoots a little laser beam that's actually faster. I actually took damage, so Sonic is unable to actually gather rings back once he takes damage. So on boss fights, once we lose damage and we take damage and we lose our rings, we don't get them back unless they're somewhere on the stage, which in this case there is not. So we got to be very careful we don't take hit again. So we roll through him again. We make sure he moves around just a little bit so we have a little bit better timing. I believe we're down to 1 hit left. We hit him here. We bounce back into the emerald. And there it is. We are done with Sonic Labyrinth. Now we have